Welcome to A View from the Summit, where we explore the unique relationships between animals and humans. Whether it's an Olympic partner or couch buddy, working companion or unique pet, a world champion or someone you just think the world of. Join us for a look at animals in our lives. Brought to you by Summit Animal Health. Hello, everyone, and welcome to View from the Summit. My name is Steve Searcy, and I am your co-host here in a very wet, soggy Kansas City, Missouri. And we have an incredible guest from way down under, not way over yonder, but way down under today that I'm excited to introduce you to. But before I do that, I get the pleasure of introducing my co-host, Robin Benson, who spends so much time in the saddle, chasing her daughter around her ranch and chasing cows around and chasing her husband around. She's an amazing woman, and rumor has it, she makes a mean pan of cornbread. Robin, what's up?
Hey, Steve, how are you? You can keep most of your rain down there, but we have a little drizzly cold here too, and thank you. It's so fun to be here, and yes, we are in northwestern Minnesota, where it's been a really nice fall. It hasn't been as cold as normal, but it's cold and wet, so we do spend a lot of time chasing kindly our critters, our free range kid, and homeschooling and our cattle, and we love it. We love to get to do it every day, and horses and all animals are a huge part of our life. And today we're super excited. As you all know, listening or watching today, we love featuring extraordinary animal and human connections. And today, I think, is the epitome of one of those kind of people, Guy McLean. As Steve said, we're so honored to have you here. I will tell you all, full disclosure, I saw Guy start a cult over 10 years ago now in Texas at a pasture roping. I was roping in it. My husband was roping in it, but he was the entertainment. And it was the best colt starting demonstration. And I've started colts my whole life, and horses have been, but I was so wowed. I've been an ultimate fan of Guy since then, stalking all the stuff. He's probably like, who is this person? But I love watching you work, because you truly are, as Steve said earlier, a magician with horses. And we are so honored to have you here. And Steve, I'll let you carry on from there, and then we get to hear from Guy.
The man is, we have a lot of people on here that have connections. Guy, you're a wizard. He is absolutely a wizard. He's been on Australia's Got Talent. He has won Road to the Horse twice. But I learned about Guy yesterday by getting on the internet, and the man has heart. And that's what I'm most impressed about. And that's why I think he communicates so well with horses. Guy, welcome.
Thank you so much for having us on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you. So tell us about how your first relationship or your first interest with horses developed.
A lot of people, when they see me now, I write for magazines and I'm at major shows across the world, and they just assume that when I ride into the arena with all my horses, they just assume that I'm like third or fourth generation Australian stockman. They assume that horses were in my blood, and that I've always had it that way. Well, my father was a wonderful Australian rules footballer. My mother was an incredible nurse. They had five kids born in inner city Melbourne, and Mum said to Dad, "I don't want to grow our kids up in the city. I'd like to take them to the bush." And Dad said, "Oh well, I owned a horse when I was a kid. Dad owned a thoroughbred off the racetrack horse when he was young, and he tell you he did everything wrong with it. He used to race his friends on their motorbikes down the road and wondered why she went silly." And so they moved to a property, it's 1,600 acres when I was 1 year old. I joked that I wasn't put on a horse till I was 16 months old, and I wish they'd put me on earlier, because I'd be much better if I had that 16 months early education. But my hips are nearly completely worn out, and I'd be lost without my horses now to carry me around, because I've used my body pretty hard learning what I've learned. But the youngest of five boys, and we've got a gorgeous sister, and I'm sure my brothers would all tell you stories of how they felt small and insignificant, but I never saw it. In my family, I was the shy kid. I wore glasses from the time I was 5 till I was 15. I was picked on a fair bit at school. I was called Four Eyes and that sort of stuff. Mum used to send me to school with things like four eyes are better than two, and the kids did. I just got picked on more when I said things like that. But when I went home, my horses were everything to me, and they looked at me different from anyone else in my life. My mum and dad are the most incredible parents. I'm so very grateful for them. But they can't remember saying it, but I remember it was like it was yesterday. They were talking about the other kids and how great they were at everything, and I heard him say, I wonder if how poor little Guy is going to go. I wonder how he's going to go in this world. And now I say at all the events, well, the poor little guy is chasing his dreams around the world with his best mates. Don't worry about him. But I was kind of glad for that. I think I had an emptiness in me, and I felt so small and so insignificant. It made me lean on the horses so much. And what I love about horses, and I love to the day I die, is no matter who you are or what you do, if you give them your very best, everything you have, and you don't hold anything back, they will give that to return to you. So people have always said I've had a gift with horses, and the only gift is I've given my very best to them. It certainly didn't feel like a gift when I was riding in the dark while other people were going out to tea or water skiing, and my brothers would play on the weekend. I'd ride horses all the time. That's where I felt most adept. And it's lovely to hear the words of kindness that you've said about me, and that I'm a wizard and that kind of thing. Well, my dear wife had to set up this computer deal, and she has to get us to a lot of the events. Like, I'm good at this. This and bush poetry. I think the bush poetry, probably from my love of horses, is something that I do feel is a little bit more natural. Words come to me fairly easy. But in saying that, the horsemanship is something I've just poured my life into. And in this ever-changing world where things are getting, I don't want to say this wrong, but I think as humans, we're getting smarter every day and we're getting dumber every day. They're computers, and to think that we're going to be driving cars one day that'll take us everywhere without us telling them where to go or without us driving, that sort of scares me a bit. But riding horses, they keep us humble, they keep us in line, and I'm just so grateful for them. I know for a fact in my heart I'd be in a straitjacket somewhere in a mental hospital if I didn't have them. They keep me sane, and I'm so grateful for them. And the way they are now, even though we breed them to be a little bit more athletic and a bit better and that sort of stuff, they're the same as horses were 2,000 years ago. And they look at us the same, and they hold us up, and we can feel that we're leaders. You can get the world's best businessman, you can get the Prime Minister of Australia and the head of the President of America, and put them in front of a horse, and he'll tell you whether they can lead or not. And that's what I love about them.
Yeah, Guy, I've made an assumption here. Describe for our audience what you do, because you are so uniquely different when you enter an arena. Describe what you do for our audience.
Well, thank you very much for that. People say to me all the time, Guy, describe what you do. And I say, well, it's very hard to do that, but just expect the unexpected. In saying that, he expects something from someone who's devoted their entire life to this, and expect a man to ride into the arena with four of his best friends who aren't even just his friends anymore. The team that I have here, they're as close to family as me, as my beautiful daughter, my darling wife, my wonderful mum and dad, and my siblings. They are my family. I'm sitting in front of Hope's stall, and Hope is a 23-year-old that travelled with us from Australia, and he reminds me so much of me. He was shy when he started, and a lot of people, my dad said, why would you want him, son? There's nothing to him. And I said, I see something in him, Dad. And I suppose I saw in him what I saw in me. He's not the most incredible type, and he didn't find things easy, but his heart's amazing. And 20 years later, he's my go-to guy. And then I have Spin Abbey, just up from here, who's 20 years old, and I've ridden him at the same events over here for the last 13 years. And I have the world's best show jumpers go up and go, man, that incredible horse of yours is still going. And this horse canters backwards and canters in place, and he's done 100 flying changes, single time flying changes in a row for me in an arena. And we pulled up with that because I didn't want to look like I was showing off. And he's just one of those special ones. And so when I ride into the arena, I try to show everything that you'd expect from someone who's devoted to life, and then show things that only the horses have taught me. People say, we've never seen people do what you do with horses. And I say, that's because you've been asking questions of humans. And horses know more about being a horse from the moment they're born. A foal jumps up in half an hour from being born and knows more about being a horse than I'm going to know for the rest of my life. So why not go to him? Why not ask from the very source? And that doesn't mean I don't keep my eyes open. I'm going to be riding beside the world's best show jumpers in the warm-up pen, and you can bet you my eyes will be peeled for something that might help me on my journey. but I'll be watching how their horse responds to them. I'll be watching how their horse sees them. I say that the horse is the perfect mirror, and it's all about how we project ourselves into them. So when you go out into the arena, you just, and watch me, you're just going to see a man who's devoted his life incredibly to these animals. I'd be lost without them.
But you have no bridle, right? That's what I want you to describe, is that your relationship with this animal defies what most people think is necessary to communicate with a horse.
Thank you. I've definitely done a lot of bridleless and saddleless riding in my shows. I'm 48 now. My body doesn't feel quite like it used to, so I can still hope I can still ride bridleless and saddleless. Made all my horses are at that level, but I'll ride into the arena dressed like a true Australian stockman. So I ride in a snaffle bit and an Australian stock saddle, but the horses that run beside me, they absolutely have nothing on them. They are as free as the day they were born. I don't shoe any of my horses. I try to leave the manes on all my Liberty horses, so they look just like clean wild horses when they come into the arena. The horse that I ride is an Australian stock horse, so he has no mane, and I look very much like the stockmen and women that work on the properties, back home in Australia, because I feel that's important. What Americans know of Australia is they know Crocodile Dundee and they know Man from Snowy River, and they don't know a lot else about us. And so I want to share that. Everyone calls me a cowboy, and my hat definitely got that look about it, but I'm not a cowboy, I'm a stockman. And a stockman is someone who grows up in Australia taking care of the cattle and the sheep and the horses. And obviously I take that to another level with my horsemanship. But my biggest thing is I want my parents and my daughter to be proud, and I want the Australian stockmen and women of our country to be proud that there's a man traveling the world, proud of where he comes from. And that's what I love about this country so much, is you'll fly a flag up the flagpole for an open can of beans over here. I love it, and Australia's not quite that proud. We like to pull people down if they look like they're a little bit too confident. But I think we need to, I don't say we're better than anyone else, but I'm proud to say that Australia's horses and Australian horsemen and women are as good as anyone in the world. And I get to ride beside Rowan Willis at these great events, and Clayton Fredericks and some of the top riders that have come over here and done so well. And we're just so grateful to be able to share the love of our land and the love of our horses everywhere we go.
That's hits my heart. I'm over here getting tears. I can feel it and I relate. And I remember watching you, and what my husband and I said was, your eyes never leave, even though you're talking to the crowd, even though you are, quote, entertaining or creating a banter or explaining what you're doing. Your eyes and your sense never leave a horse, even when you're starting the colt. Like, you have an uncanny ability. It's a communication, and you see it when a person watches you, your connection with them, right? Even a horse you've never seen, a colt you've never seen. And so as you were growing up and developing that, it's, that uncanny connection. Did you have mentors, or did you just grit it out and spend so much time with the horses that you just learned? They're great teachers. They'll humble you. You might have had to learn the hard way, but you seriously, of anyone I've seen a lot of world-class horse people, and your ability and your timing is incredible.
Thank you. Well, if you put me in an arena and said, Guy, go and talk about tennis balls or surfing or skiing, I'd be a mess. I don't want to be in front of people, and I hide with my horses quite a lot. When I introduce myself now, when people say, what is something about Guy McLean that we probably don't know, and I say I'm an introvert that lives in an extrovert's world. So yes, I do ride in front of thousands of people, but I don't like it. I love being there with the horses. I know there's something to share. I ask God every time I ride into the arena before I go in. I say, dear Lord, just a quiet prayer, dear Lord, please talk through me on something that you need these people to hear today. And so when I go out, I'm leaning on those horses. Even that baby, it's just me and him, because I try to shut out the audience. I don't want to, as I say, I don't want to be in front of all those people. I just want to be with that incredible animal. And I say that true horsemanship is, whether there's one person watching or 1,000 people watching, it's like having a conversation with someone in a crowded room. Now, if that conversation's weak and you don't like listening to them, you'll go, oh, the bar's too loud or the music's too loud, and you'll find an excuse not to listen. But if you really believe in that person and you want to have a conversation with them and you look up to them, you will shut them out. The best conversations can be done in the crowded room, because we focus in and we lean in. And it's something that I want my audience to do. I want them to lean in and listen. And I definitely want my horses to lean into me. And I don't I don't rub and pat and love on the young horses a lot in the show, and a lot of people, they ask me about that. But when horses rub on each other in the pasture, it's for a reason. They'll rub on a post. They'll knock an old gate over by leaning on it. And I don't want my horses to think that the physical pressure I'm putting on is to be lent upon. And that's what's natural for a horse, to lean the physical pressure. But don't think I'm not loving him. From the moment that I'm in there, my heart is so full with what these animals mean to me. If I talk about it too much, I'll cry. I'm so blessed to be able to share with them. So I love my foals more than anyone. Everyone said, let's go pat the foals. I said, no, leave them alone. I stand 20 feet back and I just pour love out of my heart to them. When I say to them, there'll be a day where I'll put my hands on you and a day where you'll be my partner. But right now, just be a horse. So when you see me in the arena, you know, talking to the audience, I practice it every day. I had a lady come up to me at a show and say, excuse me, man, do you know you're talking to yourself? Thinking I was a crazy person. I said, oh, sorry, darling, I'm getting ready for a show. Because I'm practicing all the time. Everything I do when I'm riding, I'm trying to come across in a way that people can learn something. And to think that you remember me starting that colt 10 years ago is important to me, because I know that we're only here for a short time. And the greatest horseman in the history of the world, people still talk about something they said or something they saw they did. And that's important to me, because we don't need horses for transport or for war anymore. And that really worries me, because if we don't need them, how long will they be here? But I just know that we need them more than we ever did. And I say this a lot. It's like a mantra now. We need them to teach our kids humility and honesty and respect. I've got a dear friend, Montgomery Preef, his 9-year-old and riding. And that girl, in a lot of ways, is too confident. She'd tell you that she knows more than me, and she's been around the clock 6 times. But when she gets on a horse, she's humbled. And she has to be more thoughtful, and she's learning incredible life lessons, and it's wonderful. I'm just so grateful for them. You know, if you want to send a kid to school, you know, send him on a horse and send him home on a horse. He'll learn more lessons going there and coming back than he learned when he was at the event.
Guy,
I can fully. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
no, it's okay. I'm just well, I'm just first of all amazed by you. But is it your abilities with a horse? Is it what you do, or is it really who you are?
Yeah, well, that's what I say too. Because when I first come over to America, people would rush up to me when they saw me with my Liberty horses. There's quite a few Liberty trainers now, and it's getting. And I hope that I've made a bit of a change to that. It's when we used to see one man ride into the arena and he'd hold the crowd, and now a lot of the other clinicians don't like the fact that I've come over, because they go, unless we got 5 horses in there, people don't want to watch us. And I say, well, you know, I wanted to come over here and try my very best. And the more horses I have in the arena, well, it's a spectacle and that kind of thing. But so people come up to me and they say, well, what makes you different from, and they mention all the biggest names in the world. Now, I could sit here and tell you a lot of differences. And I'm not going to do it right now, because I found that when I did, people would walk away and go, oh, Guy McLean doesn't like that person. Yeah, and so now what I say is, I'm not going to tell you the differences between me and other horsemen. I'm going to tell you the similarities. And the similarity is that when I work with any young horse, I go back through my mind of all the horses that I've worked in the past, and I know what works and what doesn't. And I'm very, very, very solid in my mindset with it. And because I believe in it so much, and I'm so understanding of it, and I know that even when it's not working in the exact moment, that if I hang in another 30 seconds, or if I take another 3 deep breaths, or if I take a small detour to the left 5 steps, that I can come back to where I'm going. And the horse goes, you know what? I don't know where I'm going, but you look like you know where you're going. I think I'll follow. So the greatest horsemen and women in the world believe in what they do so much that if you sat us all along here and we said our things, well, I'd say, well, my way's better, and he'd say, well, his way's better, and she'd say, well, I'm sure my way's better, because we believe in it so much that the horses then believe in it too. But it is much, you know, and as I say, I keep my eye out for everything. You can see someone, you know, holding a hand position or putting your leg in a spot, but it is much more about how you do it and about where it comes from. I know with my horses, the ones that are behind me here, I have 5 horses with me here, and I've been very blessed to be able to make a solemn promise from my heart to them that they will be mine and I will be theirs for the rest of their life. Now, when you commit to a horse completely like that, it's like they open up the last 20% of their heart. And I have worked some other horses that I haven't been able to do that with them. And it's like they go, oh, you know, you're not giving everything to me. I can't really share it with you. I wish I could keep them all. I say that my name is Guy McLean. I'm a horseaholic, and I'm not recovering. And I have way too many horses, and I wish I could have a lot more. But I do have 30 horses across the world that I've made this commitment to. And when we commit to them completely, I believe they give to us the same. And my dad always says, "Oh, son, you could sell your horses for big money." I said, "Yeah, but Dad, I'd weep. You know, the money comes and goes, but I'd be lost without them. I can't. I went to an incredible place where there's some Amish people selling horses for up to 200 grand. You know, they buy them for 50, and they train them up and they sell them for this big money. And they're quality horses. I mean, and they're putting some handle on them now. They're laying down, they're riding bridleless and saddleless. They're not working in 5-horse Liberty teams, but you know the horses could do it, and they sell them. And my heart just aches for it. You know, I know that everything I do now is so that hopefully when I'm old and can't work anymore, someone's going to look after me. I know with old Tom Dorrance that people used to go around and bring him food and stuff and look after him because he'd do lessons for free. He wouldn't take money. Well, he'd earned that. So, you know, when I see these horses being sold, it does make my heart ache a bit because I know that these horses behind me, whatever I can, they're never going to go cold or hungry or thirsty. And I believe I owe that to them.
That's incredible. So, man, there's so many things running through my mind. It just, you hit my heart. Like, I knew this would be one of these kind of interviews. And so to back up a minute, when you talked about like moving, we're going to go way back to the beginning, moving to the country, your family. So it kind of is in your blood in a way, right? Because your dad had a horse way back, but he gave you that gift in a sense. But I can relate because my husband and I grew up with cattle and with horses. My family wasn't into animals at all. I did it as a kid on my own, but we made a choice to move back to Minnesota where my husband grew up on a ranch and raise our daughter here. And she's completely feral in the best way, has a real gift to communicate with horses. And I think about it, I can't wait for her to listen to this and watch it. She's at the sale barn right now with my husband. But when you talk about how this country needs horses more than ever to keep us humble, what's a way, you know, they do truly teach you in a way that, you know, takes barriers down, but can you give us an example of maybe a show that you did or a time in a barn alley or behind the scenes where you maybe had a connection with somebody where you could share that teachable moment to people, you know, really showing that, because it is truly a gift to be able to share that piece. I agree with you that our country does need that level of teaching from a kindness, you know, and humility standpoint.
Yeah, so the one that stands out to me most was over in Australia when I was performing. I had a wonderful stadium called Nugget that I paid $200 for, and I did a video just recently that went viral. And I was only going to go in there and give him a bit of a pat and tell everyone how great he was, and I cried for 10 minutes. That horse just sucks tears out of me because of what he meant to me. And he's the horse that believed in me before others did. Like, we'd go around to shows and people would go, "Do you know Guy McLean?" "No, I never heard of him." And they'd say, "Well, what about Nugget?" "Oh, yeah, he's that famous buckskin horse. We know him." And so he started me out. And he's the first horse, well, he's the only horse really that had his name chanted in front of 20,000 people at events, because I would go into the arena just on him, bridleless and saddleless. And now I ride into the arena with 4 and up to 5 horses. So we're a team. So it's more that the team gets the glory than just one. But I remember this gentleman coming up to me, and he was well dressed, and then he came and found me. He had to walk through all the crowds and that, and the fireworks were just going at this major event. So at this major event, there'd be monster trucks and motorbikes, and then Guy McLean would ride in on his horse and do a 10-minute show, and then there'd be fireworks. And so while the fireworks are banging off, I remember it like it was yesterday, this gentleman came up and said, "G'day, Guy. I just want to introduce myself." And I can't remember his name, but I remember how he made me feel. And he said, about 5 years ago, he said, "I saw you at this event." He said, "I was a very successful businessman." I can't remember what, and I was just taking care of Nugget. I was just feeding him and watering him in that shy, introverted way of, "Can I just please be with my horse?" But still, I was being respectful to him because it's important. And this was really the first time I realized probably my impact, whereas I've heard it a lot more. Now I get these lovely ladies come up with their little kids and go, "I remember when I was a little girl." And I think, "Oh, I didn't think I was that old, but thank you." So this gentleman come up and said, "I had this high-powered job." He said, "I had a different colored car for every day of the week." He said, I was rocking it, and I thought I was doing wonderful." He said, "I saw you on Nugget in that arena." And he said, "The connection that you had and the way you talked about Australia and your horse." He said, "I went home, quit my job, I left the city, and I bought a property in the country. I bought a horse, and I'm thinking, oh mate, that's a lot of pressure on me. I said, I hope you're happy. And he goes, it was the greatest thing he ever did. He said he was living for monetary, he was living for the things that he could accumulate, but he wasn't making the memories and doing the things for his family that he wished he could. So that was really special to hear. And he didn't so much tell me about the way the horses changed his life, but the way Nugget did, and Nugget and I did in that moment. But I think that people come to me all the time, and they don't come to me and tell me about how the horses have changed their life, but they tell me how they're going to. So they come up to me, and one lady who I've seen at events, and she's pretty gutsy. She goes pretty hard, and I sort of sometimes watch her a little bit like that, because she was hard and fast, and she had this wonderful little girl and little girls, and she says, "Guy, I've lost my nerve." She said, I used to be able to get on anything and ride, and now I'm scared, and I don't feel like I can ride my youngster. And I've got a friend that can maybe help me. What do I do? I said, well, you embrace that. I said, there's going to be lessons that you can learn from that. I mean, I was told 10 years ago that if I kept climbing on young horses like I do in that I'll be finished by the time I'm 50. I wouldn't be able to ride anymore. So I get on everything from the box now. I change things around so that I can keep doing this. And so I said to her, you're not seeing it yet, but there's going to be lessons that you'll learn from this to lean on others, or to change your method so that your horse is more understanding. People come to me all the time and they say, I've got this horse that's really giving me trouble. I'd like you to work it. And I say, well, for that horse is going to teach you more if you allow him to than any of the good ones. So it's the toughest horses in my past, and Hope was one of the toughest I ever taught. He was upside down and inside out in his type and everything he is, and now I ride him bridleless and saddleless in the most beautiful frame. But boy, we had to work on that. And when I see a lot of people, when we look for the perfections, it's the imperfections that allow us to really grow. So those horses are a little tougher. I love the ones that are tough. I have people come to me all the time and say, I've got a horse that all he wants to do is lay down and sleep all day, be perfect for your show, because I lay him down in my show. And I go, I don't want him. I said, I have to carry him everywhere. I said, I want the horse that's got the heart and the drive, and the horse that says no in the beginning. And all good horses will say no in the beginning, because no is how they stay alive. No, you won't catch me. No, you won't corner me. No, you won't control me. When those horses learn to say yes, they say it with the same incredible passion that they say the no. So I've got some of the best no sayers in these arenas behind me, but they only say yes now. They say, Dad, you've proven yourself to us. You've proven yourself to us. And there's times where it's very humbling. This little girl, Montgomery, I talk about, she said, I can't do it. I said, no, you can't do it yet. And I say that to my horses all the time when they tell me they can't. I say, you can't do it yet, but I believe in you. I see something in you. So there's so much they can teach us if we're only open-minded to it. And we need to, first thing we've got to do is realize just how smart they are and realize how connected they are to this world. I was at a very religious event last weekend. I said, I love this. I said, I love how you talk of God and your connection. I said, I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't go to church every weekend, but I go to church every day. Every day I ride. Every day I'm with my horses. I'm closer to God than if I was standing in his presence. And I do believe that. They are so more connected than anything else. And I'll always be grateful for that. When I put my arms around them, my Spinobian Hope of winning in there, when I cuddle on them, I'd sob. And it wouldn't be tears of sadness. It wouldn't be tears of hurt. It'd be just how much I love them, and I don't know what to do without them. They're just the best.
Well, I tell you, you made me cry yesterday, because, and I'll try to do this without my voice cracking. I watched that video of you and Nugget. Whew.
He sucks them out of me. He just rips tears out of me.
No, man, that's heart, and that's what the world needs. That level of, see, you've done it to me again.
Well, it's not me that did it, mate. It's that dear old horse. He believed in me when others wouldn't. He was on his way to not a great place. He was a $200 horse out of the bush. I don't think he would have made it to the doggy yards, but he was on the same truck as horses that were going there for sure. And what he gave me and the things he shared with me, and when he said that, you're as good as anyone, and a lot of the time we need that. We need for someone to look at us and say, I see some greatness in you. And sometimes when we're told all the time how great we are, like people say to me how humble I am, I say, I work with Liberty horses, mate. And I've got 3 teams across the world. I don't see very often. Horses will keep you humble. And if you're not humble around horses, it's because you've segregated, you've stepped away, you have someone else train them or someone else work with them, or you do other things within the industry that we don't like changing the way they act through medication and stuff. I want my horses to be the most open and honest, and I'm so grateful for those times where they say, Guy, you've stepped out of line a little bit, and they'll pull you up in the most incredible and thoughtful way. And yeah, they're just incredible. And people say, I wish they could talk. Well, I'm kind of glad they couldn't, because I know that mine would swear a little bit. So I'm kind of glad that they don't, because especially my characters, I think they'd have potty mouths. They're so funny with everything they do, but they talk in so many other ways, in the way they share themselves with us, and all just to be kept warm and kept fed and have water in front of them. They don't want for much, and they give so much.
So saying this, now that you made us cry, which we're grateful for in the best way. And that's why we have this show, right? It's truly to feature this connection. And it's so hard to put into words, but when you're talking, it's the energy and the feeling. And that's what makes it so powerful and makes you successful in the eyes of humans, right? Because you are able to convey that connection in your performances, or when you do videos, or when you train. So you also mentioned about poetry and words. So do you have a poem you could share with us? I know we could chat with you for hours, but and it's been a pure blessing. But do you have a poem that you could share, or you feel like sharing with the listeners? We would love to.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you. So this is a poem that I've done now. I wrote it. I can't remember. I think I wrote it because I knew I was going to go in the road to the horse again. I wanted to basically convey the kind of promises that I make to my horses. My dear, beautiful daughter, and she brings tears to my eyes. She's 21 now, and she's got a wonderful boyfriend, and she's studying to be a nurse, and she's almost broken into that. And talking about passion with her, because she used to ride, and I'd help her with stuff. She goes, Dad, I really don't like this. It's not my passion like yours. I said, that's okay, darling. I said, I just want you to ride with Daddy today, and there'll be things that you'll learn that will help you with your other stuff. And she goes, Dad, I don't need it. I don't need to learn how to ride a horse to be able to do what I want to do. And now she tells me about those moments where a dear boy techno would press on her, and she'd have to breathe through it, how that helps her now with her patients. She works with dementia patients, and the way she treats them is beautiful. She smiles through it, and she knows they're not trying to do anything wrong, just like with the horses. So I said to her, darling, I won't ever promise you something I cannot keep. So I promised to love her and to love her unconditionally for the rest of her life. And that's a promise I know I'll keep. But I never promised I could be at a birthday, or I could be at an event, because her dear mum and her they left when she was only 2-year-old. It was the life that I live is very hard, and her mum couldn't handle it anymore. So she left, and she went a long way away. So I was always at least 2 days away from my daughter for the last 19 years. I ring her every day, and I talk to her every day. That's not like having my arms around her, but I said to her that I won't make a promise I can't keep. And so when I say this poem, The Horseman's Promise, it's a promise I do my very best to keep. And I'd like to share it with you now. If you don't mind, I will close my eyes, because I do feel funny talking. It's funny, I can recite in front of 20,000 people, but performing in front of a computer screen makes me feel funny. So I close my eyes and do this poem for you. My Horseman's Promise. I promise I will see you for all that you were born to be, before the training starts, before the A's and B's, for I do not want to change you, your heart, your soul, your spirit, for I want the world to hear your song. For I want for you to sing your song, for the entire world to hear it. There will be many things to learn, for my world is different unto yours, and I will teach you with compassion to understand the greater cause. For alone, you are quite special, already perfect in nature's eye, but with my help, you'll be a diamond that will brighten up the sky. I promise you I will be fair, whilst you learn to understand. My requests will all be justified. I promise you a gentle hand. You will learn to seek my guidance. On pure knowledge you will feed, and I hope to share a bond with you to fulfill both our needs. For a horseman with no horse is just a man without a cause. And we will learn and grow together to accept and forgive each other's flaws. I promise I will give my best in each and every moment. For you to give your best as well is to know your gift and own it. So whether your name is Spin Abbey or Hope or Gift or Denny or Mate or Thomas, I will see you for all that you can be, for you have my horseman's promise.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
Yeah, that was your heart again, Guy, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm very, very grateful. And it's funny that the hole I felt that I had in my heart, that God filled up with horses. I'm grateful for that. And there's no hole there anymore. I'm very blessed to be where I am and to do what I do. And people say to me all the time how blessed I am. I say I am. But the biggest thing about being blessed is to count your blessings and to focus on that. Because I could tell you all the reasons why I wish I had more and why I wanted this and I wanted that and I wish my legs were younger and all that kind of thing. But I haven't got time to do that. I don't have time to talk about the things I want because I'm being so grateful for the things I have. And the same when I work with my horses. People say my horse is biting or my horse is bucking or my horse is rearing. I say, well, get him to do something else and talk about that. Don't focus on the things he's doing wrong. Give him so many things to do that you've got to be grateful about, and then he'll start to only give that to you. Every horse I have in these stables had so much energy in the beginning. I love those high energy ones, and they'd use it for everything. But I would only celebrate and I would only ask for more of the things that I wanted. And now they go, you know what? I used to have energy to buck and kick and rear and jump. Now I've only got energy to turn around and fly and change. And I better save it because Dad's going to need it. And boy, is he grateful when I give it to him.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible. And I think that a lot of the communication that you have with a horse is because of you, not necessarily what you do, because they're so.
I know, I agree with that. It's because I give
so,
my very best. Yeah. And the moment I look at them and go, you're not important to me, or I'd rather be somewhere else, they will know, then it will be done.
Yeah.
And I've had some people, I'm only 48. I don't know how old I look in the arena, but I have people come and they go, you need to stop cold start. You need to just, start take care of yourself. I say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to retire. And people have been asking me, when are you going to retire? I said, about 3 minutes before they close the lid. You don't retire from doing this. Bill Dorrance, and I never got to meet Kim or Tom or Ray. I never got to meet any of them, but I've heard stories of them. And I've seen photos of Bill with his saddle, letting it down off a pulley system from his roof to put on his polo mare. And then he led her up on his wheelchair up onto a ramp, and then he would transfer from the ramp to his horse. I don't tell horsemen he's going to stop. I mean, we're not. As a footballer, I'd be done. As a tennis player, I'd be finished. As a horseman, I barely started. I barely have done enough or seen enough or been enough to even call myself a horseman. But I love calling myself that because it takes two words that are important on their own, but they become much more important when they're put together, and the horse always comes first. And that's what I love about
it. Yesterday,
beautiful.
When I was bawling, watching you and Nugget and felt that connection, I sent it to Elisa Farmer, who is the president of Summit Animal Health, and they are our main sponsor here. And she cried. I hate you was the email. I hate you. But anyway,
my makeup's a mess now.
they would like to present you with a gift. They make Summit Max. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Roland uses it. Garcilaso uses it, and it basically, like Thomas says, that his horse would have retired 2 years ago had it not been for the product.
I think the world of Thomas and Rowan. So if they believe in it.
They both. Roland's was one of the first adopters 5 years ago. So anyway, they would like to make a gift and take care of Nugget with the product, and they would like to know if there's 3 or 4 other horses that they could supply the product to you to do.
Well, that is so wonderful. Well, I have an aging team behind me. I have a 23-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 12-year-old, and then I got a gorgeous little 4-year-old. She's still bouncing off the walls, so she's fine. But the older horses, absolutely, and they're in great nick, and I'm looking after them well. But anything I can do to have their life be better, well, that's a gift in itself.
Like Thomas says, I would have been done. He said I would have had to retire. because
And that's a
Hollywood.
beautiful horse. That
Oh,
Hollywood's a special horse.
yeah, it's just special horse. And he had a problem with a hawk, and it's not there now, and he performs
Wonderful.
better
A,
than ever.
a lot of people look at Nugget in that video, and because he's standing so kind and his head's down, he does look golden, and he's got grey all around his muzzle. What they don't realise is we let him go after that, and he galloped down snorting and carrying on, trying to mate with an old mare across the fence. So Nugget's quite okay, and he's already on something that he's doing wonderful. But it was just that I knew that I couldn't have continued to ride him. The fact that he's sound now to this day, I could if I wanted to. I could have people come out, and people would come just to see that old horse. He's still famous. I could ride him around bridleless and saddleless to this day. I don't do it because he did enough for me, and I know that if I continued to work him, I would have made him lame. But they told me, as I said in the video, they told me that he'd be done at 15 if I kept him going after 10, and he's 29 now and still gets around telling everyone he's the greatest horse that ever lived, and I have to believe him. He's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we are so grateful for your time. I know you have a very busy schedule and your horses demand your attention too, but we're so grateful for your time and wonderful sharing of your heart, and can't wait to hear, how your horses continue. We'll keep in touch, and we love to continue the conversation. And if people watching or listening want to follow you, want to watch, your shows or your poetry or listen, how do people connect with you?
Just
As little
have you
as
Google?
possible. Talk to me.
Yeah, that's. I'm sorry. I kind of wish I could be a little bit more like that, but I know if I was, I see a lot of the other great performers, and they're all about getting away from the horses back to the crowd, and it's just about getting away from the crowd and back to the horses. And I know that's why they are that way, and I know I couldn't be both. If it was all about the crowd, the times where I've gone that little way a bit, I've had falls in front of Nugget, stopped me twice in front of thousands of people when I thought I'll just crack my whips a little faster, and the crowd are looking at me, and Nugget goes, yeah, you with me? And I said, no, I'm not, because it's hard to crack two whips at a gallop with your riderless and saddleless, and he'd take the left and I took a right. But I'm grateful for that, and I wouldn't change that at all. But if people want to look for us, it's funny, I had a gentleman write to me and goes, I'm a bit upset with you. And I wrote back and said, I'm sorry to hear that, mate. And he said, my name's Guy McLean. I've got a pretty good business, and I thought I was doing real good. But anytime people Google my name, your ugly mug comes up. So I'm the first Guy McLean that comes up when you Google, and we do have a public page, and I try and share on that. I mean, at the moment, I haven't been doing a lot lately, but once again, that's on my heart. Right now, I'm just focused on traveling and keeping the horses right. But then I'll have a spate where God tells me I need to say some things, and I'm very aware of that. The internet's an incredible place, but it's an awful place. Like, you put up something loving and thoughtful, and the first 100,000 views on that Nugget deal was fantastic. It was just from people that know me and know who I am, and then people are going, "Oh, that man's too big to ride that horse, and he's cruel to him." People are awful. So I dip my foot into that bigger, wide media world, but I don't stick it all the way in. I stay around the horses a fair bit.
So at least, like, you have a Facebook page we can share, and we'll put it in the show notes, and Emily can manage it for you. You don't have to be on there.
Well, I do all of the stuff on it. I actually do all that. Emily does. She worked the vets to get us across to Canada, and she does all the washing and everything else. But I do all the media stuff with the Facebook because I'm a wordsmith. Dear Em would tell you she's dyslexic, so she has trouble writing up stuff, but boy, has she improved. She's worked on her craft. I'm so proud of her, and I haven't spoken about her, and I need to. She's sitting in the truck now working on something else, and I know that if we weren't together, I'd still be this horse mad kid running around the world. But I'm blessed to have her, and I don't know what I'd do without her. She is my soulmate, and she loves these animals like I do. And she fell in love with Nugget before she fell in love with me. And so I'm so glad for my wingman picking up such a wonderful girl for me to have by my side.
Instead of a wingman, you've got a wing horse.
Sure, that horse has got wings. He's my angel, that's for sure.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, Guy, thank you so very much for being on. Robin, do you have any last words for us?
Man, I'm speechless. My heart goes out to you. I've just enjoyed this even more than I could have imagined. And I can't wait for my daughter to listen and watch. She's going to be so excited. One day I'm going to have to get her to meet you in person, because this is
I would love that.
She is, yeah, of course she's my daughter, and I think she's the world of her, but there's truly, you know, she has that passion and that gift. She rides her horses bridleless and saddleless over jump line. She saw a woman in Australia, starts with an A, Alicia Bird. I don't know if you know
Burton.
her.
She's a New Zealand girl. And
Oh,
she's
New
very
Zealand.
good.
Okay. She's watched her on YouTube for the last several years, and she then goes outside, sets up sticks and tree stumps and practices with her arms out, jumping. And you know, she it's on our bucket list, and I'm just so grateful for you sharing your heart and being here today, because it does inspire us. And as a mom, inspires me to, you know, bring more people like you into her life who truly share the humility of what horses can teach. And our world does need more of that. And so for all the people watching and listening today, I hope you do go follow. I know he doesn't want a big following on social media, but if you get a chance to see Guy in person at a show near you, his schedule is on the website, which we will share. You need to go. It's magical, and it will change your life. So thank you again, Guy, for your time. We are super grateful.
I'm super grateful for what you're doing, because I remember when I started off, and I won't go too long, where when I started off, you see the people that are successful as people see me, and they just assume that it was an easy path. You talk to anyone who's doing anything great, and they'll tell you of the trials and tribulations, and they'll tell you how they stayed in there and they kept going, and their passion pulled them through. And if I had an easy life, if my life was easy, I wouldn't know the things that I know. So I'm grateful for all of it. People are always saying to me now, "Oh, you're getting old and you're walking funny," and that. And so long as I can ride, and I believe I ride as good now as I ever did. As long as I can ride, I don't care if I have to drag myself along my stomach to get on a horse. I'm going to get on, and they make me feel younger and better. But this is wonderful that you can share this to let people know that when they're sitting at home wondering if they can get there, all the greats have been there. All the greats have had that. And I still have places I want to go. And I love the name of your podcast, but even the ones to us who look like we're sitting on the summit, it's only a summit we thought was there, because once you get to the summit, the clouds break through, and there's another one. We're mountain climbers, and we're never going to get to where we want to be. McLean Ward's at this event, and I congratulate him on a second, and he looks like I've swore at him, because that only first will do. You know, he's so humble and wants it so bad and he got given an award the other day. I saw him at Pennsylvania Horse Show, and he got given a lifetime award. He goes, "Oh, that's the nail of death." He says, "They think I'm done." I said, No. They're just saying how good you are to where you're at, but you're not done until your horses tell you are. And he'll be riding just like me, I'm sure, till only seconds before they throw flowers on the box.
Well, Guy, you are a treat. Robin, you too are a special treat. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sharing these brief moments with us, and we'll see you next week for another View from the Summit. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us for A View from the Summit. This program is made possible by Summit Animal Health. Check them out online at summitanimals.com. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you next week for another View from the Summit.